Hello there, everybody. I'm still not hearing anything from the other end.
Yeah, my apologies. We had a system crash just at the worst possible time. Welcome to Velospitty Speed Talk, episode 14. I'm Tina Snell from South Africa. Our episode is called Kingmaker, and the Kingmaker is sitting right there in front of us, Peter Clifford from England. He's the man that's known as one of the driving forces behind the Red Bull Rookies Cup. And of course, he's got a very rich history in racing himself, or in racing involvement. Peter, good evening. Thank you for joining us. And sorry again for the short snafu right at the start. Would you just take us through a little bit of who you are and your involvement in motorcycle racing?
Well, yeah, I hope everybody can hear me. The connection may not be that good. I've been involved in racing virtually since I was born. I was born into a family of race enthusiasts, at least headed by my dad. He was a school teacher, not a professional motorcycle racer at all, but went to my first race when I was sort of 6 months old, and have been interested and thrilled by racing ever since. Started racing myself while I was at university, a lot older than our rookies do now, but enjoyed just racing for fun, and became a motorcycle journalist. Was lucky enough to test racing bikes and race all over the world. Then got my own Grand Prix team with my good friend and partner Bob McLean, and we ran the WCM team in the 500cc World Championship from 1992 with riders like Neil Mackenzie. And then we got the factory Yamahas and began Red Bull Yamaha for 6 years with riders like Gary McCoy, Regis Lacconi, Noriyuki Haga. That ended in 2002 was our last year of Red Bull Yamaha. Then we carried on with WCM, built our own MotoGP machine, ran that 2003, 4 and 5. Eventually ran out of money. Very expensive building and running your own MotoGP machine. And then 2007, Red Bull started the Rookies Cup, and I was obviously still in contact with them from our time as Red Bull Yamaha. And they asked me to get involved, and I've been involved ever since the beginning of the Rookies Cup in 2007. And it's been thrilling, and we've had a lot of great riders come through the Cup. The first one to be really successful was our first Cup champion from 2007, Johan Mir. More recently, Brad Binder, and we're to watch Brad's progress. He became our first MotoGP winner, and now we have, we continue to watch his success and his brother, Aaron, of course. He was a Red.
Right. Oh, we just seem to have lost audio a little bit from Peter there. That was a very, very comprehensive intro, Peter. I don't know if you can hear me, and you actually anticipated a lot of what I was going to ask you. Yeah.
I'm not hearing you.
All right, can you hear me now, Peter? Let me just check on the. Obviously, we are relying on the technology of the day. Peter, are you there? There you go. We will get him back. Are you there, mate? Peter, we got you. While we're trying to get Peter back, I'll just run through a bit of what he said. Peter is, there you go, we've got you back. Peter's a very, very respected motoring journalist. I think let's pull the clock back a little bit more than 20 years. I read in one of your biographies that you went to your first race when you were 6 weeks old. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right, Tinus. Yeah, and my dad was a teacher, just about a motorcycle enthusiast, and he was a commentator at club races. So I went with him to Silverstone when I was 6 weeks old, and that's how I started getting involved. Really, is when he was a trackside commentator. All
right. Now you mentioned WCN. You actually anticipated one of my questions, and I know you went through the very, very tough job of building your own bike, which eventually got politics right off the grid, if I'm not altogether mistaken, right?
Well, that's right. We had to build our own MotoGP bike in a big hurry. And we took the basic outline of the R1 Yamaha engine, and we modified that into a racing engine and went racing with it. But we were trying to do that just over one winter, from the end of one racing season when we were campaigning the 500 factory Yamahas to running our own MotoGP bike, and we're just a private team. So at the beginning of the year, we were still using the R1 crankcases and so forth, and it was just purely a political thing. The FIM president at the time was an Italian gentleman who was very close to the people running the World Superbike, and they objected to the fact that what we were doing was too close to superbike racing. So it caused us all sorts of grief. I mean, I was already in the process of creating our own crankcases, completely new crankcases, with a gearbox and all that sort of thing, but we didn't have them ready for the beginning of the year. And we did end up, producing those, and with a 4-valve cylinder head, which wasn't my design, but putting it all together and put together entirely our own MotoGP bike, which was great fun to do. It was never going to compete with the factories, but it was a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah, you also linked up with a company called Blata, and you were going to do potentially a V6 motor if everything panned out as it should have.
Well, yeah, and we produced a design for a V6. That wasn't me. That was other people produced a design for a V6 for Blatter, and they were supposed to make it, but they never produced the motorcycle, unfortunately.
Yeah. All right. Well, and you segued us very nicely into where we need to get to, because Youth Force Racing is a group that we created for youth riders, and one of the objectives was to bring riders from different disciplines together, motocross and road racing and speedway and whatever, letting the guys learn about each other. So the Rookies Cup started in 2007, is that right?
Yeah, it did. And it's interesting you should say that about the, because we've had successful riders come out of motocross and out of speedway and come in, do very, very well in Rookies Cup. So, obviously most of our riders come to us as road racers through pocket bikes and mini GP bikes and things like that. But there's no reason why, we can't have talents out of motocross and speedway. Arthur Sis, the Australian, came out of speedway. Jake Gagne, the American, came out of motocross. So, we're tremendously successful and have gone on to great road racing careers,
It started with flat track guys like Kenny Roberts, Anthony Gobert, guys that were off-road, that learned to slide a bike and translated that very successfully onto tarmac, I would imagine.
Well, yeah, and all the modern guys do ride both. All the top guys are practicing riding all sorts of motorcycles, motocross, flat track, and that sort of thing, because they need the full skill set.
Yes. Yeah. Well, just to introduce our viewers who may not know about all of it, I've very quickly edited together a highlights reel, as it were, of Red Bull Rookies Cup going back a few years and getting to the now. So I'll just throw it on and we can unpack that once we've watched that.
2012 Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup selection event. We had 106 riders in all invited to the selection event from many, many more who applied online. We split them roughly into 2 groups, so we had 55 guys on one day and then 51 guys on the second day, and out of those we selected just 49 to go through to the 3rd day of testing. 15 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the afternoon, 7 groups of riders, so they each had open track, plenty of time to show what they could do.
Last year I never made Rookies Cup, but this year I'll make it.
I love it.
I'm really glad I got to, but also a little bit excited.
Although it's my first time, I'm going to make it.
It was different because it was my first time sitting on a 125.
It was a terribly difficult task, of course, to choose those who we would select to be invited to the 2013 Rookies Cup. In the end, we came up with just 12 names, 12 young riders who will join the 12 who remain from the Rookies Cup from 2012, making 24 riders on the grid for 2013.
I win.
I'm happy.
Yeah! So happy to be in the Red Bull Rookies Cup. It's going to be so much fun.
I'm very happy to be here in Red Bull Rookies Cup. It's so awesome.
Red lights are on, off, and everyone gets rolling well there. And I think it's Artigas who's the quickest off the middle of the front row. Yamanaka comes inside Artigas. He runs very, very wide. Artigas, the 24 machine of Artigas, 12 is Salax the Czech. Of course, he had his first. And Dennis Unju got relegated by Carrasco. And there's another braking opportunity here. They fan out again, and up the inside comes Challenger. Artigas is second on the yellow helmet, but Yamanaka comes around the outside. You're on board with Challenger.
Taller in the background there, Pete.
Yeah, a big cloud of dust. That's 53. That's Dennis Unju. There's Challenger out on the grass, but it's Yamanaka who's going to win it. Yamanaka, it's another Japanese win in race 1. So here are the names of the applicants invited to the Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup for 2020. Izan Gravera Bonin, Spain.
Yes, before to start, each rider have to switch on the airbag, so we have to press the button just here, 5 seconds exactly. So you wait, 5 seconds, and after, like you can see here, we can see a light, so a green light and an orange light, and after this means airbag is switch on.
And it's going to be a sensational last lap. It is Daniel Munoz who has the slightest advantage. Acosta's there in 3rd place.
I think Acosta is in a great position. Well,
Oh, Salvador is coming too.
Yeah.
He's got his eyes on at least a podium. Fantastic, Pedro Acosta is there. He hasn't lost anything. He's got a really good drive. He's in a great position. It's Ortola with the lead, but Pedro Acosta is behind him. Oh, and dear, that was a touch there. Very unlucky for David Munoz that he didn't crash when he touched the back of David Alonso's bike. But it's Pedro Acosta with the advantage again. But he's going to go wide, and Acosta comes back underneath him. He's way wide on the last lap. He can't win from there. He'll be penalised if he did win from there. And it's Acosta who has it. Pedro Acosta is going to win again. Ortola tries to pull out the slipstream. He can't do it. It is Pedro Acosta, 4 out of 4. Ivan Ortola, Daniel Munoz, David Alonso, David Salvador. Around the outside comes Ariati. Who can get the power on and get up over the hill? Salvador looks like he's got a good line. Absolutely brilliant stuff. No one's going to pass him. Ariati almost got him on the line, but it's Salvador Ariati. Van Aert in 3rd, fell on the Gucci Agi. Acosta 7th. My goodness.
So there we are, quite a show reel there. And what I tried to capture there was a little bit of the selection process, and then just to show how close the action actually is in the racing, because you often have very close finishes with the first 10 riders under a second at the flag, right?
Yeah, it's a privilege to be able to commentate on those races. It's so much action. Fantastic. It was great to see some of the young lads there at the selection event, including Darren Binder, of course, and all come through the same system, including the Joan Mir, who's leading the MotoGP World Championship.
Exactly.
He's an ex-rookie, and Enea Bastianini, who's leading Moto2. He's ex-rookie. So Raul Fernandez, who won the Moto3 race last Sunday, he's ex-rookie.
Yeah, you've got a rich history of alumni, and we've got a clip for that as well in a minute. And speaking of Joan Mir, I just picked up on his social media today, and I got a huge amount of respect for that which he said, which was, people said, "Are you under pressure now with a 37-point lead?" And he said, pressure is people suffering from the virus or not having food to eat. I'm doing what I enjoy, win or not win, so he relativized it, which I thought was great,
Absolutely wonderful, wasn't it? Yeah, I saw the same thing, and we're all very, very lucky, privileged to be involved in racing and frankly, in getting paid for what we love doing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the idea of a stepping stone one-make series, I think that's a brilliant thing. You guys, I think, took the lead, and then you have now other series, similar European Talent Cup, Northern Talent Cup, British Talent Cup, where lots of similar talents emerge. But it just seems to me that the Red Bull Rookies Cup has got it so together with great marketing, onboard footage, great social media and everything. So, hats off to you guys for getting it done that way.
Yeah, well, thanks very much. We can't claim to have invented it. Long before we had the Rookies Cup, there was the Yamaha Cup, which came out of France originally, and the Kawasaki, which also came out of France. So they started these one-make series some time ago, and they weren't, people had to, certainly in the case of the Kawasaki Cup, had to own their own bikes. The Yamaha Cup, in some countries, those bikes are owned by Yamaha. But fantastic partnership. That's the key to the Rookies Cup. Red Bull, KTM, and Dorna, the three original main partners. And it's Dorna, of course, that produced the TV images, which, as you say, are so absolutely fantastic. We benefit from the fact that we're at the races, so we have the same fabulous safety facilities and safe tracks and that sort of thing, and the TV images. KTM produce incredible motorcycles. For years, we had the 125 bikes, and now the Moto3 spec bikes, all from KTM, and our other partners. Like Alpine Stars, who produce the leathers, and now with the air suits as well. The last couple of years, HJC helmets, absolutely top line stuff. And we know it's a worry, of course, when we see the teenagers go out and ride, and we feel a tremendous responsibility for them. But we do know that they are riding on the safest circuits with the best backup and with the best safety equipment, and that's very important to us.
Yeah, and Bartolome Perrin actually showed very proudly his little airbag in his Alpine Star suit. Now, with KTM, I used to own a motocross team some years ago, GP team, and it's great what KTM are doing for the youth. When we got to KTM, it was around about 1998. The factory was staggering on its back heels. In a true battle for survival. And then they signed Grant Langston, which was a South African, and he promptly went on to win the world title. And I remember, it was guys like Stefan Pierer, and now the CEO of KTM, Gert Brouwer from Holland, and maybe Farioli from Italy, that were the guys that stuck to the brand. And Pierer is, of course, he's got the racing heart beating. So it's great to work with a company like that where the CEO is very racing oriented, isn't it?
Well, that's right. And the slogan is ready to race, and they're very much ready to race, all of them. They're all tremendously enthusiastic and love racing. As you say, from, motocross, the course of the Dakar and that sort of thing is a big part of their heritage, very important to them. And, in fact, they were dirt bikes and that first, and have come to road racing relatively recently, but and now right at the top in all classes, so that is a fantastic achievement.
Yeah, they've made a staggering rise. I mean, from entering the field as absolute newcomers not so very long ago to now having a race-winning MotoGP bike, never mind Moto3. I remember, Pit Byra was racing motocross with my guys. In fact, when he had his unfortunate accident that was right in front of my eyes in Bulgaria, and not long before that, we had been discussing, what is the direction that KTM would be taking. Now, I look at the selection event, and you say how many applications you get and how you have to sort of wean it and get it to your ultimate selection. And I think it's heartbreaking for those that are just on the cusp and just don't make it. Have you been following some of those riders who take maybe then an alternative route to get to where they want to be?
Well, yeah, we say to them, it isn't the only route. Right. For example, Jake Dixon, who's now doing very well in MotoGP. He came to a selection event, and he hadn't been road racing for very long, and he was one we didn't choose, and he went and found his own route, and is now in Moto2. So it's perfectly possible. And we stand there and we watch the teams, guys and girls, for 3 days. And we've got a great deal of experience, myself and the other guys who look at them. But of course, we're not perfect, and we can miss talents, and sure. Very much so. We do our best. That's all we can do. Yeah.
Right. Now you mentioned something very very interesting, where you said obviously the Rookies Cup races are also always in conjunction with MotoGP races at the same track, same venue, same facilities. And in the motocross, they have that now as well, where the European Championships, the 125, the two-stroke series, the MX250, which is a four-stroke series with the kind of motors that you will find in your bikes, they ride alongside the GP riders. So the riders can aspire. They can see the track. They can see the Euros in action. And I think it's very motivational for the young guys, is it not?
It is indeed, and of course it works both ways. It's motivational for the young guys to be on track, seeing the what the superstars are doing, and of course the teams, the professional teams, see the young guys riding as well. So it's they're much more likely to pick them up, and that's the whole point of Rookies Cup, is that Red Bull are not going to see these guys through for the rest of their careers where there are too many rookies, but obviously they can't become Red Bull riders and in Red Bull teams, but we just provide them the opportunity, and we hope that the Grand Prix teams pick them up, and they do very much that, and Joan Mir is a perfect example. He was one of our rookies, and he's no longer a Red Bull rider, but as far as Rookies Cup is concerned, that's not a problem for us. We want to see the guys progress and succeed, and we're going to celebrate Joan Mir's success. Hopefully he wins the World Championship, and we'll celebrate his success even though he's no longer a Red Bull rider, of course.
Right. And in recent history, two of your riders have made extremely successful GP debuts with wildcards. The one was Chan Onju, who actually won on debut, albeit on a wet track. And then Xavi Artigas, who was leading a race, came darn close to winning it, and then I think finished third, also on debut, and also as a current rookie then.
Well, that's right. Yeah. And, but there's no guarantee that these guys are going to go on to the success that they show. And Jan Onju is a perfect example of that. As you say, won on his debut at the end, and then had a disastrous first full Grand Prix season, because there's a tremendous amount of pressure on these lads, and they are growing. And anybody who's been a parent or been around teenagers knows that teams and that change an awful lot as they leave the rookies at sort of 16, 17 and go on to the Grand Prix classes. And they don't all succeed. And some sort of have a pause, struggle, and then come on stronger later. And I think that's what we're going to see with Chan Onju. He's an enormous talent. And I think we'll see him back in Grand Prix racing after he's had a quiet couple of seasons and got himself together again.
Well, yeah, he's in World Supersport now, and I think he finished in the top 10 on the 600. Okay, Chan is not like Denise, he's twin, who's a smallish chappy. Chan is, I think, a rather more bulky boy, you know. So, but he showed well of himself with some good rides in the 600 Supersport thing. Now, here's another thing, you know, riders take different routes. Some go the production route to get to the top. Others go on what they call the prototype route, which are Paka racing bikes. But I would imagine for somebody who aspires to MotoGP eventually, your route being on a proper Paka racing bike is the more appropriate way to go.
Yeah, we do find, and there's no hard and fast absolute rules in racing at all, but we do find that kids who've come up through, you know, racing bikes, for pocket bikes, pre-GP bikes, you know, Moto 4 to Moto 3, and then into the Rookies Cup, they take the Grand Prix route better than kids who've come from production-based motorcycles, you know, more flexible chassis, softer suspension, that sort of thing. That doesn't help them really develop the Moto 3, you know, Rookies Cup, Moto 3, Moto 2, MotoGP route as much. But as I say, there's no hard and fast absolutes about this at all. But there is that, tends to be that split, as you say. Right.
Now, you've seen lots and lots and lots of very talented riders stream through the portals, as it were. And you must have met some great characters. I mean, some are reserved and quiet, and some are boisterous and light up the room. You know, are there any that spring to mind as particularly memorable?
Well, as the characters, well, there's not a better person in racing, I don't think, than Brad Binder. You know, he was a tremendous rookie. A whole family of fantastic people, and Darren also. You know, but Brad, as I say, tremendous rookie, worked so hard, and when he left us, he had some tough years, and he carried on with the support of his family, and ultimately succeeded, became Moto3 world champion, of course, and now you know, and won so many Moto2 races, and now MotoGP. And you know, you won't find better people in the world than I think the Binders.
Well, yeah, I can't lay claim to any of his success at all, but he is from my hometown, so that bit I will claim. So because Krugersdorp is also where I grew up, and I have to say, to my eternal shame, I missed a part of his upward curve, because during that time I was involved with my motocross team, so I was in Europe and helping other South Africans, including 2 South African eventual world champions. You know, so I missed the uprising. So I popped in mid curve with Brad, but yeah, nonetheless proud for it. You know. Now, from your crop, recent crop, 3 riders are going into Moto3 next year, World Championships. Ethan Guevara, Xavi Artigas, and then also your runaway champion, Pedro Acosta. I mean, that must be a huge feather in the cap. And you must feel a tremendous sense of pride from that achievement.
Well, we do, of course. You know, we take great pleasure in watching what all of our guys do, and it's not always going on into the World Championships. Obviously, that's the ultimate aim. But you know, we follow very much with a great enthusiasm what Matthew Sculpts is doing, South African is doing in America. Fantastic. You know, he never made it into the GPs, but he's doing an absolutely incredible job over there. And all those top Americans, as I said, Jake Gagne, JD Beach, Cameron Bobier, they're all ex-rookies, you know, so we follow them. But obviously the what we want to see is them progressing into the Moto3 and Moto2 World Championships. But and sometimes they have a great initial success. But as I say, it's not smooth, and the jump is still a big one into the World Championship, you know. And it remains to be seen how quickly they adjust and how quickly they run at the front.
Yeah. You know, you have somebody like Carlos Tate, who also had a very successful wild card, and this year is just he's getting there and thereabouts. But certainly not the flaming promise that we thought at the beginning of the season. But sometimes, as you say, it takes a year or so to settle in. Now, I've made another. Well, actually, I borrowed another clip off your site, which was, I think, a clip from last year when you had 100 alumni get GP victories. So let's just run through that one. Well, there you go, around 100 victories from alumni, and that was up until last year. And as the video promised, the many more are starting to build up, because you had a good few this year as well, right? Including 2 MotoGP victories from former rookies. 3 with Oliveira.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
Now 3 with Joan Mir. That's right. Yeah. That, exactly. Yeah. We're well over 110 now, anyway. But it's just a thrill every weekend. The last, I forget, there's been like 4 weekends this year where 6 out of the 9 podiums in the GP classes have been ex-rookies.
Oh wow! That's
a lot
amazing. Yeah, and now this year you've had a kind of a runaway winner, like the Anjous were a bit like that, but Acosta in the beginning of this year looked like he had a suit of armor on and 8 feet wide side wheels that nobody could get past, or if they did, he just immediately retook them. But then, then David Alonso, and that's a superb young talent. They started. It's like a rugby team beating New Zealand. You know how it is. Once they do it, they believe they can do it. But I think you've got a worthy champion there who's also, I believe, hopping straight into Moto3, because he's won a couple of Repsol CEV races as well, so he's clearly got the class for it.
Yeah, he has. The incredible thing is he was the first ever rookie to win the first 6 Rookies Cups of the season. No one's done that before. And so he scored 150 points out of those first 6 races. He's only scored 46 out of the last 4 races. So that's how things can turn around. Not his fault. He was pushed off the track and got involved in an accident. It wasn't his fault. But things, there's no predicting Rookies Cup racing. That's for sure.
All right. Now for 2021, obviously you couldn't have a selection event. Your selection event is normally, I think, in October or something in Spain, and of course the microscopic enemies would pay to that. So how will you make your selection for next year?
Well, we've had the online applications going in the normal way, but we explained to people, obviously, as you say, we couldn't have a selection event. Having 110 kids from all over the world wasn't going to happen. And basically, the guys, myself and Harold Bartol, Danny Ribalta, and Gustav Lauinger, we're normally those who stand out on the track and watch the guys. We've just been going through all the applications, looking at the results from around the world, and we're just going to pick a small group, probably 7 or 8 new riders to come. And that's all we can do. It's far from perfect, but in this situation, there's nothing else we can do. And
so a greater core of this year's group's going to remain than had been the case in the past.
Yeah, that's right. Slightly more, and we're probably going to change, as I say, 7 or 8 riders, whereas we'd normally be closer to sort of 10 or 12 that we would change. Right. Obviously, as you said, lots of the guys are naturally moving on anyway, like a Costa and Co. So and right. Rider Billy Van Erde, who's had his 3 years in the Cup, that's generally the maximum that we go for. But yeah, we just do it like that, and it's not just that we miss not having a really good way to select riders. We love the selection event as an event an end in itself. Yeah. We have riders, as you know, there's say sort of up to 110 from all over the globe, and we know that many of those that we invite don't have the background to really make the step into Rookies Cup and into Moto3 or whatever. But we just want to give people, as many people as we possibly can, the opportunity to come and meet other teenagers from all over the world, have the 2 or 3 days in the sun on really good motorcycles, and just show what they can do and learn from those around them. And they are wonderful events. And, we hope that, well, we're fairly sure, all things being willing, that next year we'll have a selection event, and we're going to make it even more of an event and really enjoy it.
All right. Well, yeah, well, as I say, my hats off.
Sorry, Tennis. I don't know whether you can hear me, but I've lost you completely. I can't hear what you're saying. No, I'm not hearing you. Sorry, my friend, I can't hear you at all.
Me now?
Yep, you're back. Sorry.
All right.
You're back.
No. I think the Bluetooth conked out. So there you go. Now, what I was saying is, it's entirely pleasing when we see a Red Bull rookie or a road racer comment on a new motocross friend's achievement or vice versa. And we also work with young musicians. And what we're doing is we're going to be doing a video now because, as I said, the pursuit might be different, but the drive is the same. It's I'm an avid fan of your series, and then we've brought many people along to this, and it's instructive to me to see that people MotoGP riders actually stand at the edge of the track and watch the youngsters race.
Well, that's right. Yeah, it's compulsive viewing. You see sometimes even riders being interviewed after the Moto2 or MotoGP practice, and you can see the sort of looking up at the screen. They're watching the rookies guys out on track as well.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw, because when they were speaking to Mir, the post interview on Sunday, and the rookie's bike started up, and you could see his ear was going in like with a long toot towards what's happening there. Now, in motocross terms, I was just reminded by our partner Dave Brug from Holland. In motocross terms, one of our very good friends, Tim Geiser, he's also a rider that I literally followed from when he was 12 years old, gave a little bit of assistance, not much to speak of, but followed from very young age. He just secured his fourth MXGP or fourth motocross world title, 3 of those in the MXGP class. So congratulations to him, and also to Tom Viel. He's a young Frenchman. His dad used to ride GPs, but he didn't claim a title when he was 18 years old. So that was also great. Now, just in closing, I know you're a prolific writer, and I would assume reader as well, because I hear you have hundreds and hundreds of motor-related tomes stacked up in the library, right?
I do, yeah. I mean, several thousand actually, but yeah.
Right, and it was interesting to me that the two, a set of letters in different permutations appeared in your life twice in a row, which was with your WCM and then the MCW.
Just coincidence that, yeah.
But it's a happy coincidence that. Well, thank you. And tell me, just as we close out, you, I don't know what it's like now, but you were renowned for having a fair old motorcycle collection yourself, right?
Just a very small collection of motorcycles. I don't have many. Just a couple of race bikes. Yeah.
Yeah, but including a Yamaha too. At one stage, a Yamaha OW or something, I think.
No, I haven't got an OW. No. And I sort of keep what I've got to myself.
All right. Oh, yeah. It's probably, that's like a good stamp collector would be as well, Well, I thank you so very much for your time. We will be following. We post your races and rebroadcasts on our group all the time, So, and apologies for the bit of the duff up at the beginning, technology we'll find a way to corona us, here and there. But thank you very much. I'll make the video available to you with the dead space cut out, so you guys can use it. And just speaking of that, just in closing, I see that you guys push the riders to write in their blogs and to interact socially, and it's nice to see blogs from riders whose first language very clearly is not English. How important is that to you?
Well, to me, it's very important because I do the race reports at the end of the races. I mean, I'm doing the TV commentaries and that as well. But of course, we tend to only feature the guys who are running at the front or whatever. We don't have time to cover everybody. Right. And the blogs very much is the rider's opportunity to tell us what happened or didn't happen in their races, their side of the story. And also, it's all a learning process, and they got to learn to communicate. Learn to speak English because that's the common tongue, as it were, and they can use Google Translate or whatever they want to do that. Yes. With their blog. But it's a commitment. They must be committed to the series and committed to make the effort, and it's all wrapped up in that, and a very important part of it for me anyway.
Speaking of communication, I interviewed a few interviews ago a young Irish lad. I think he's about 12, Jordan Kinsella. And I tell you what, he is like a rubber ball bouncing off the walls. I could have introduced him, gone off, read a book, mowed the lawn, everything. He would have handled the rest of the interview himself, and it was such a delight. It was absolutely great. But in any case, thank you so much again for your time. And, again, our respect for everything that you guys do.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. We're privileged to be involved with these young riders. And it's been a privilege to be on today. Thanks very much, Dennis.
Okay, Peter. Thank you. Bye-bye.